Hello and welcome. This is Project Healing Waters, Fayetteville, North Carolina program, and this is the second fly for January, and it's called the Soldier Palmer, not Soldier's Palmer. The material list that we're going to be using is a TMC 900BL, size 10. For the body and the tail, we're using ram's wool, color red. For the ribbing, we're going to be using fine wire, color gold. For the hackle, we're going to be using brown rooster hackle. And then the thread we're using is brown 6 or 8/0. So let's get started. Okay. First we want to put the hook in. And we want to start the thread about an eye length behind the eye. And let's capture our thread. And we don't need overlapping. We don't need touching wraps. So let's go ahead and remove the tag. Carry that back a little bit more. And then what we want to do is we want to capture our gold wire. And then we can take that to close to the bend of the hook. We're not actually tying into the bend of the hook. So, and just take the thread back to the bend, and we're going to stop it right about there. Yep, that looks good. Maybe one more, just for good looks. Okay. So now what we want to do is we want to take a snip of our ram's wool, and we want to put, because we're using this as the body and the tail and the dubbing, so let's go ahead and cinch it to the top of the hook, a couple wraps, and then let's carry this forward to our starting point, and then let's go ahead and capture it again and cinch it down a little tight, and then if you can, let's tighten that up a little bit. Yeah, so you won't have a lot of bows when you carry this back. So let's just carry the thread back and kind of get that ram's wool down. I'm going to go forward and we're going to bring it back one more time. It doesn't matter because we're throwing dubbing over this. So let's get to our bend. I want to keep that stuff separate. Yep. Now what we want to do is get our ram's wool, and we're going to snip the end, and don't want to throw this away because this is what we're using for our dubbing. So let's just go ahead and pull some fibers off, and let's get it in our thread, and let's just create a dubbing noodle. And so now let's just go ahead and wrap backwards until we capture that. And we don't want this to be too thick. We just want this to be kind of like an even body all the way through. And then we're just going to grab a little bit more. And just take your time with these dubbing noodles. If you rush this, then it can and will be a pain. So let's just go ahead and make sure our body is still staying pretty tight. Looks like it's getting away from me there. So let's go ahead and just tighten it back up. Okay. It really got away from me. So I'm just going to break that down a little bit with some thread. Go back, and I'm just going to put a little bit more on just to cover that background up and make it a little better. Remember, it doesn't take much dubbing to cover There we go. Got a little more brown there. Okay. That looks good to me. Now see, we got a nice and buggy. Got a little thick patch there, but that's fine. We can come back and trim this up. In fact, no, what we'll do, we're going to trim it up now because we've got a hackle coming through. So if you do have some long fibers come through and just snip them up and make it nice and pretty. I think that's what Bob Ross would do. Okay. That one's bugging me. There we go. We've got a couple more underneath here we want to... I have to admit, this ram's wool is not the easiest stuff to work with. But it is what it is. Alright, so now what we want to do is we want to grab our hackle. And we need to figure out how big we want this to... Because what we're doing is we're wrapping it down. Yeah, no, I like that. That looks good. So I'm just going about half the feather, and I'm going to create a tie-in point. So let's go ahead and put our feather in and put a loose wrap, and then we just come back and just tighten the wraps down. Alright, I think I got it there. And so I'm going to come through and I'm just going to snip the bottom portion out, and then I'm going to come up and just make sure it's good to go. Okay, so now we're coming back to our hackle pliers. Whoops. And there we go. And so what we're going to do is we're going to take this with spacing wraps. Not that much space. There we go. And oh, that hook saved me. Alright, let's get back in here and grab that bad boy. Okay. There we go. And we're just doing spacing wraps. And just kind of make it look a little uniform on the way back. Like a feather turned on me just a little bit, but that is what it is. Alright. So now I'm just going to secure that underneath the hook point. And so now what we're going to do is we're going to grab our silver wire and we are going to wrap backwards in the opposite direction. And you don't want to capture and force all these fibers down. So you can just move the wire down a little bit. I got a lot going on underneath this up. And just kind of wiggle it in there. Get that first one in, and then what we can do is we're just going to come straight with it. And of course you're going to capture some, but you don't want to take a whole bunch of the fibers down to the into the dubbing. Okay. Looks like it captured a bunch there on me. And we're just going to move this around a little bit. And get this to the top. And then what we want to do is we want to secure this wire. And you see a lot of fuzzies up on the top, but don't worry about that. We're gonna clean that up. And then come through with your crappy scissors and snip that off. And then let's come up and clean up this head and build it up. Okay. Right there. Let's go ahead and put a whip finish in it so we don't lose our work. All right. And essentially at this point our fly is done. We just got to clean it up a little bit. Okay. So what I see here, and this is where you want to do the cleanup, because you don't have to deal with the thread. So you can actually just come through and just be like Edward Scissorhands and just come through and get some stuff. Okay. So now what we want to do is grab our tail, and we just want this right off the back, like so. And then we're going to come through, and I'm going to grab my hackle. We'll push it up a little bit, put a little pressure on it, get as close as we can, and cut it off. And voila, there's our soldier palmer. Really don't care for this fly. It was one that we had materials for, and kind of represents a woolly booger. We do tie a lot of woolly boogers, and this would be useful for catfish or bass or any kind of panfish. Would probably go after this. Trout will go after it. I'm assuming salmon would probably go after it. So probably it's probably a good all-around fly. As far as tying it, it's just not one of my enjoyable flies to tie. But you can leave in the comments. You can voice your opinion. We would appreciate it if you did. Even if you have some criticism, I don't mind it. Well, I can't say that, to a point. But other than that, we welcome any kind of dialogue back and forth. This is Project Healing Waters, Fayetteville, North Carolina program, and this is the Soldier Palmer. Please like and share, and if you like what you see, we're going to have several videos coming out for fly tying. Also, we're having rod building videos coming out, a step-by-step of how we do our program and building a rod. So we're going to start that here this month. And then also we are going to be doing net building as well. And we'll have the step-by-step for that. I will be, once I can figure out how to do it and get the information, I will have our guides and samples available online for free. Yeah, we're not charging for our information. Yeah, we had some people charging us, trying to charge us $1,300, and that's not going to happen. So ours is going to be for free. So thank you for watching, and we look forward to sending out more flies to you. Again, this is Project Healing Waters, Fayetteville, North Carolina program. Thank you again.